I am Lauren Adams, 25 years old, graduating alongside my little sister Madeline, who is 22. What should be the proudest day of my life feels bittersweet. While Madeline breezed through college on our parents' full financial support, I worked 3 jobs simultaneously to pay my own tuition. They always said, "She deserves it, but you do not." Today, as we don both caps and gowns, they have no idea what is coming. The secret I have kept for 2 years is about to change everything. Before I continue my story, let me know where you are watching from in the comments. If this resonates with you, please hit that like button and subscribe to see more stories of resilience and unexpected triumphs. Growing up in suburban Boston, our middle-class family seemed picture-perfect from the outside. My father, Thomas, worked as an account manager at a local insurance company, while my mother, Helen, taught 4th grade at the elementary school. We lived in a modest 4-bedroom colonial with a small backyard where Madeline and I would play for hours during summer breaks. In my earliest memories, our parents treated us with equal love and attention. I was the responsible one, always organizing my toys, completing homework without being asked, and helping Mom with dinner. Madeline was more carefree, leaving trails of art supplies and dolls throughout the house. Despite our different personalities, the scales seemed balanced in terms of parental affection and investment. Everything changed when Madeline turned 12. During a school art competition, her watercolor painting of our family vacation to Cape Cod won first place. Her teacher called her a prodigy, suggesting private art lessons to nurture her talent. Suddenly, my parents saw Madeline in a different light. She was no longer just their younger daughter, but a special child with extraordinary abilities that needed cultivation. I was 14 then, maintaining straight A's while participating in debate club and volunteering at the local library. Yet my academic achievements began feeling invisible against the backdrop of Madeline's artistic promise. My parents started attending every art class showcase, proudly displaying her paintings throughout our home and enthusiastically sharing her accomplishments with friends and relatives. "Look what Madeline created this week," became my mother's standard greeting to visitors, while my report card full of A's gathered dust on the refrigerator, eventually replaced by another of Madeline's colorful creations. The first time I truly felt the sting of unequal treatment was on my 16th birthday. I had hinted for months about wanting a laptop for my advanced placement coursework. When the day came, I received a generic calculator and some clothes. 2 months later, when Madeline turned 14, my parents surprised her with a professional art tablet worth twice what they spent on my gift, explaining that her artistic development required proper tools. That Christmas amplified the disparity. Madeline received an entire set of professional art supplies, special lighting for her bedroom studio space, and art books by famous painters. I got sweaters and a gift card to the local bookstore. The pattern continued year after year, with each celebration highlighting the growing gap in how our parents valued our different paths. I developed a protective shell of independence around myself. If they would not support my dreams, I would achieve them through sheer determination. I began babysitting neighborhood kids and tutoring classmates to earn my own money. I bought my own laptop by saving for 8 months, working weekends while maintaining my position at the top of my class. When I was selected as valedictorian of my high school, I stood at the podium scanning the audience for my family. My father sat alone, checking his watch repeatedly. My mother and Madeline had chosen to attend a regional art exhibition where one of Madeline's pieces was being displayed. Dad recorded my speech but left immediately after, rushing to join them at the more important event. That night, I cried silently in my bedroom, clutching my graduation honors medal. Part of me understood my sister's art was a visible, immediate talent that seemed worthy of attention. My academic abilities were common enough, less flashy than creating beautiful images. Still, the consistent message that my achievements were secondary cut deeply. I comforted myself by focusing on college applications. With my grades and extracurricular activities, I received acceptance letters from several prestigious universities, including some with partial merit scholarships. I imagined my parents would finally see my worth when these recognitions came from respected institutions rather than just my local high school. I worked extra hours that senior summer, preparing financially and emotionally for college life. I believed higher education would be my escape from living in Madeline's shadow. I dreamed of a future where my parents would proudly tell friends, "Our daughter Lauren graduated from an elite university." Little did I know that the pattern of favoritism was about to become even more painful and explicit. The college acceptance letters arrived within days of each other. I had been admitted to Northwestern, Boston University, and Cornell, each offering partial merit scholarships that would cover about 40% of the tuition. Madeline, with her impressive art portfolio but average grades, received conditional acceptance to the Rhode Island School of Design and Boston University art program. I remember the family dinner where we discussed our options. I spread my acceptance letters across the dining table, explaining how the scholarships would reduce costs and outlining my plan to work part-time to cover additional expenses. I hoped for congratulations, perhaps even an offer of financial help given the prestigious nature of these opportunities. "We need to discuss something important," my father said, setting down his fork. My mother nodded, reaching for Madeline's hand. "We have been saving for college education since you girls were born," he continued, "and we have made a decision about how to allocate those funds." My mother jumped in. "Madeline will need specialized training to develop her artistic talents. The equipment, materials, and networking opportunities are expensive but essential for someone with her potential." I nodded, assuming they would explain how they plan to divide the college fund between us, perhaps with a slight advantage to Madeline given her specific needs. "We have decided to fully fund Madeline's education," my father stated flatly. "All of it. Tuition, housing, supplies, everything." The silence that followed felt suffocating. I waited for the rest of the plan, the part where they would tell me what portion they had set aside for my education. "And me?" I finally asked, my voice smaller than intended. My mother looked uncomfortable but resolved. "Lauren, you have always been so capable and independent. You already have scholarships, and you know how to work hard. We believe you will find a way," my father added. "You always do." The implications sank in slowly. They were not going to contribute anything toward my education. "Why?" I managed to ask, fighting back tears. My father sighed as if I was being difficult. "Lauren, we have limited resources and need to make smart investments. Madeline has a special gift that could disappear without proper nurturing. You will succeed regardless of circumstances, because that is who you are." "She deserves it," my mother added, squeezing Madeline's hand. "And you," she hesitated, searching for gentler words before settling on brutal honesty. "You do not need it like she does." Those words branded themselves into my memory. She deserves it, but you do not. I excused myself from the table and locked myself in the bathroom, trying to process this betrayal. My entire childhood flashed before me, every instance of preferential treatment now culminating in this ultimate demonstration that Madeline was worthy of investment while I was not. Later that night, Madeline knocked on my bedroom door, clearly uncomfortable with what had transpired. "I did not ask them to do this," she said quietly. "I could tell them I do not want all the money." Despite my pain, I could not blame my sister. "This is not your decision," I told her. "This is about who they choose to value." The following weeks were a blur of recalculations and compromise. I declined my acceptance to Northwestern and Cornell, as the remaining costs after scholarships would still be too high without parental support. Boston University offered the best combination of scholarship money and local living opportunities. The final insult came when I realized Madeline had also chosen Boston University for their art program. My parents were thrilled that we would be at the same school, completely missing the cruel irony. Madeline would live in a comfortable campus dormitory with a meal plan and studio access, all expenses paid. I would need to find the cheapest possible off-campus housing and work constantly to afford tuition payments. I found a tiny studio apartment 40 minutes from campus by public transportation. The building was old, with unreliable heating and a shared bathroom down the hall. I arranged 3 jobs before the semester even began: morning shifts at the campus library, evening waitressing at a diner near my apartment, and weekend tutoring for high school students. On move-in day, I watched from a distance as my parents helped Madeline arrange her spacious dorm room, hanging her artwork, and organizing her new art supplies. They had purchased her a complete bedding set, desk accessories, and a mini refrigerator. Meanwhile, I had transported my few belongings on the subway, making 3 trips to carry everything to my apartment. That first night alone in my tiny apartment, I cried until I had no tears left. Then I washed my face, opened my secondhand textbooks, and began preparing for classes. If my worth was not obvious to my parents, I would build a life so undeniably successful that they would be forced to recognize what they had dismissed. My daily routine during those first 2 years of college was punishing. I woke at 5:30 each morning to prepare for early shifts at the university library, where I reshelved books and processed returns from 6 to 9 before rushing to my morning classes. Between classes, I squeezed in tutoring sessions with fellow students who paid me to help them with economics and statistics. 3 evenings a week, I waitressed at Joe's Diner, a greasy spoon establishment where the tips were decent but the hours grueling. I would return home after midnight, feet swollen from hours of standing, smelling of fryer, oil, and coffee, only to spend another 2 hours completing assignments due the next day. Weekends offered no respite. Saturdays were dedicated to tutoring high school students preparing for SATs, while Sundays involved a combination of laundry, meal prepping for the week, and catching up on coursework. I scheduled every minute of my life with military precision because any wasted time meant lost income or falling behind academically. The physical toll was evident within months. I lost 15 pounds from my already slim frame. Dark circles became permanent fixtures under my eyes, and my hands developed a slight tremor from exhaustion and excessive caffeine. My hair started falling out in clumps, and stress hives appeared on my neck during midterms and finals. The emotional cost was even steeper. I developed anxiety attacks that would strike without warning, leaving me gasping for breath in bathroom stalls between classes. Depression clouded my thoughts during rare quiet moments, whispering that perhaps my parents were right about my unworthiness. Loneliness became my constant companion as I had no time to build friendships or participate in typical college experiences. Meanwhile, Madeline's college life represented everything mine was not. Through our occasional text exchanges and social media updates, I glimpsed a world of art gallery openings, studio time, campus activities, and new friendships. She joined clubs, attended parties, and fully immersed herself in the college experience, unburdened by financial worries or exhausting work schedules. Our parents visited Boston monthly to take Madeline to dinner, attend her art showcases, and bring her supplies or home-baked treats. Sometimes they would invite me to join them, seemingly oblivious to how these gatherings highlighted the disparity in our situations. One such dinner during my sophomore year remains particularly vivid in my memory. We met at an upscale Italian restaurant near the campus, where I could barely afford a side salad. My mother gushed about Madeline's latest project, a mixed media installation that had impressed her professors. My father proudly mentioned increasing Madeline's monthly allowance to cover art supplies for a special workshop. "How are your classes going, Lauren?" my mother eventually asked, as if remembering I also attended college. "They are going well," I answered, not mentioning that I had fallen asleep during a lecture that morning after working a double shift at the diner. "I am maintaining a 4.0 GPA. "That is nice," my father said dismissively, before turning back to Madeline. "Tell us more about that professor who mentioned the summer program in Florence." I sat silently picking at my pasta, calculating how many hours of waitressing this meal would cost me, while my family discussed the possibility of Madeline spending the summer studying art in Italy. My own summer would be filled with additional work hours to catch up on tuition payments. That Christmas break highlighted the ongoing inequality. Madeline received an expensive laptop specifically designed for graphic artists and a winter coat from a luxury brand. I received a generic sweater and a gift card for $50 to a coffee shop chain. The message remained consistent. Her needs and desires warranted investment, while mine did not. The breaking point nearly came during junior year when I developed pneumonia after weeks of exhaustion and malnourishment. Unable to afford a doctor visit without insurance, I continued working and attending classes despite a dangerously high fever and persistent cough. I collapsed during a library shift, waking up in the university health center where a concerned coworker had taken me. The doctor who examined me was alarmed by my condition and my explanation of my schedule. "You are working yourself to death," she said bluntly, prescribing antibiotics and mandatory bed rest. No work or classes for at least 10 days. Those 10 days of forced rest nearly derailed everything I had fought for. Without income from my jobs and missing classes, I risked both financial ruin and academic failure. I called my parents in desperation, hoping that my serious illness might finally prompt some support. "We are so sorry you are sick," my mother said, sounding genuinely concerned. "But we just paid Madeline's tuition for the semester and helped her with supplies for her senior showcase. We simply do not have extra funds right now." I hung up and cried until my chest pain worsened, realizing that even my health crisis was not enough to shift their priorities. It was during this low point that two people entered my life who would change its trajectory. First was Alicia, a nursing student who lived in my building and began checking on me daily, bringing homemade soup and ensuring I took my medication. Her kindness, without obligation, showed me what genuine care looked like. The second was Dr. Jenkins, my advanced computer science professor who noticed my absence and reached out via email. When I explained my situation, he arranged for lecture recordings to be sent to me and extended my assignment deadlines. After I recovered, he invited me to his office hours. "You have extraordinary talent," he told me, reviewing my recent project. "But you look like you are running on empty. Is everything all right?" Something about his genuine concern broke through my carefully constructed walls. I found myself telling him everything about my financial situation, my parents' favoritism, and my exhausting schedule. Instead of pity, his face showed recognition. "I worked 3 jobs through college too," he said. "It almost killed me. But there are better ways to approach this." That conversation led to him connecting me with Tyler, a graduate teaching assistant in the computer science department who needed help grading undergraduate assignments. The position paid better than my library job and related directly to my field of study. Tyler and I quickly developed a connection beyond our work relationship. He admired my determination and intelligence, offering emotional support that I had never experienced before. For the first time, someone saw my struggles not as evidence of inadequacy, but as proof of exceptional strength. With better paying work and supportive people in my life, I managed to reduce my hours at the diner to just weekends. My health improved, and I began to see possibilities beyond mere survival. Yet the fundamental wound of my parents' rejection remained unhealed, informing every decision and achievement. I was still the daughter who did not deserve investment, still working to prove a worth that should have been recognized all along. The turning point in my college journey came during the spring semester of my junior year. While taking an entrepreneurship elective to fulfill a business minor requirement, I developed an idea for an educational app that would connect struggling students with affordable peer tutors. The concept grew directly from my own experiences, juggling work and studies, recognizing that many students needed academic support but could not afford traditional tutoring rates. Our professor, Dr. Cassandra Williams, took particular interest in my project proposal. After class one day, she asked me to stay behind. "Your app concept solves a real problem," she said, reviewing my preliminary design. "Have you considered developing this beyond the classroom assignment?" I explained that while I had the technical skills to build the app, I lacked the time and resources to pursue it seriously, given my work schedule and tuition payments. "I think you are underestimating its potential," she countered. "This university has innovation grants available for promising student startups. With your background in this concept, you would be a strong candidate." That conversation planted a seed that quickly took root. With Dr. Williams as my mentor, I applied for and received a $5,000 innovation grant from the University Entrepreneurship Center. The funds allowed me to reduce my waitressing hours and dedicate more time to developing a working prototype of the app, which I named Study Connect. Over the summer between junior and senior year, while Madeline was indeed studying art in Florence with our parents' blessing, I was coding late into the night in my sweltering apartment. The prototype evolved into a fully functional platform where students could create profiles highlighting their academic strengths, set affordable hourly rates, and connect with peers needing assistance. The app included features for scheduling, secure payments, and reputation tracking through reviews. What made Study Connect unique was its algorithm that matched tutors and students based on learning styles and specific academic needs, rather than just subject matter. By fall of senior year, I had assembled a small team of fellow students who believed in the vision. Jackson, a marketing major who handled our branding and user acquisition. Priya, a user experience designer who refined the interface. And Devin, another computer science student who helped with back-end development. We worked remotely to save costs, meeting weekly in empty classrooms after hours. Dr. Williams encouraged me to enter Study Connect in the prestigious Northeast Collegiate Innovation Competition. The preparation was intense, requiring a comprehensive business plan, market analysis, and polished presentation, while maintaining my coursework and reduced but still necessary part-time jobs. The day of the competition arrived, and I stood before a panel of judges, including venture capitalists and successful tech entrepreneurs. My hands trembled slightly as I demonstrated the app, but my voice remained steady as I explained how Study Connect addressed accessibility issues in higher education. This is not just a tutoring app, I concluded. It is a platform that democratizes educational support, allowing students to help each other succeed, regardless of economic background. We won first place, which included a $25,000 cash prize and meetings with potential investors. Those meetings led to seed funding of $200,000 from an angel investor who had built his own company while working through college. He saw in me a reflection of his own journey and believed in both the product and my ability to lead. With actual funding came legal incorporation, official titles, and the surreal experience of being a CEO while still completing my senior year coursework. We expanded our team, rented a small office space off campus, and accelerated development. By the beginning of spring semester, Study Connect had launched at 3 Boston area universities with over 1,000 active users. The app quickly gained traction, with user numbers doubling monthly as students discovered the affordable, convenient alternative to traditional academic support services. Local tech blogs began covering our growth, and a few smaller education companies expressed interest in partnerships. As graduation approached, our user base had grown to over 10,000 students across 12 campuses, generating real revenue through our service fee model. What began as a class project was now valued at over $1 million, with acquisition interest from 2 established education technology companies. Throughout this whirlwind of success, I maintained absolute secrecy from my family. Madeline occasionally noticed changes, like my new laptop or reduced work hours, but I attributed these to better-paying campus jobs. My parents remained largely uninterested in my academic life, focusing instead on Madeline's upcoming senior art exhibition and post-graduation plans. The most difficult secret to keep was the acquisition talks that began 2 months before graduation. A major education technology corporation offered to purchase Study Connect for $3.5 million, with the condition that I would join their executive team for at least 2 years. The negotiations were intense and all-consuming, yet I sat through family dinners where my parents never thought to ask why I seemed distracted or what my post-graduation plans entailed. One particularly painful dinner occurred just 3 weeks before graduation. My parents had come to Boston primarily for Madeline's final portfolio review but suggested we all meet for dinner. As we ate, they enthusiastically discussed the elaborate graduation celebration they were planning for Madeline, including flying in relatives from across the country and hosting a catered reception to showcase her artwork. "What about you, Lauren? Do you have any job interviews lined up?" my father asked, suddenly remembering I was also graduating. Before I could answer, my mother interjected. "At least you managed to graduate despite having to work so much. That is an accomplishment itself, I suppose." The dismissive tone in her voice sealed my decision. I had been considering whether to share my success with them before graduation, perhaps privately. In that moment, I decided they would learn about Study Connect, along with everyone else, in the most public way possible. "I have some prospects," I said vaguely, hiding the fact that I was days away from becoming a millionaire. As I returned to my apartment that night, I finalized my plans for graduation day. I would invite Dr. Williams, Tyler, my team members, and our investors to attend. I would wear an expensive outfit purchased specifically for the occasion, rather than the secondhand dress my budget would have required 4 years ago. And I would watch my parents' faces when they finally learned what their less worthy daughter had accomplished without their support. The weeks leading up to graduation became increasingly surreal as I balanced completing final exams, negotiating the final terms of the acquisition deal, and preparing emotionally for the public revelation of my success. My apartment became command central for both academic and business operations, with legal documents spread across my desk alongside textbooks and study guides. My small but dedicated team worked tirelessly to finalize the acquisition paperwork while respecting my wish to keep everything confidential until after graduation. We met late in the evenings to review contracts, discuss transition plans, and ensure all legal requirements were satisfied. The acquiring company, EduTech Innovations, had agreed to my stipulation that the announcement be timed to coincide with graduation day. The stress manifested physically as I lost sleep, developed stress headaches, and found myself alternating between extreme focus and emotional vulnerability. Tyler became my rock during this period, bringing meals when I forgot to eat and forcing me to take breaks when I pushed myself too hard. "You do not need to prove anything to them," he reminded me one night as I obsessed over graduation details at 2 in the morning. "Your success speaks for itself." "I know," I replied, not entirely convinced. "But after 22 years of being the less valuable daughter, I need them to see what they dismissed." Madeline noticed the changes in my appearance and behavior, though she misinterpreted their cause. During a rare sister lunch, she commented on my new clothes and the fact that I was no longer rushing between work shifts. "You seem different lately," she observed, studying my designer watch and tailored blazer. "Did you get a really good campus job or something?" I offered a vague explanation about better tutoring opportunities. Part of me wanted to confide in my sister, but our relationship remained complicated by our parents' favoritism. While Madeline had never intentionally participated in the unequal treatment, she had benefited from it without question. I was not ready to bridge that gap until after my parents had been confronted with the truth. The tension peaked at our final family dinner before graduation. My parents had arrived in Boston 3 days early to help Madeline prepare her apartment for the post-graduation celebration. They rented a private dining room at an upscale restaurant and invited several of their friends whose children had also attended Boston University. I arrived late due to a final meeting with our legal team, wearing a business suit that cost more than my monthly rent. My mother raised her eyebrows at my appearance but said nothing as I took my seat at the far end of the table. The conversation revolved entirely around Madeline's achievements and future. My father proudly announced that they would be supporting her move to New York, where she had been accepted to a prestigious master's program in fine arts. They had already put a deposit on an apartment in Brooklyn and planned to cover her living expenses during her graduate studies. "We could not be prouder," my mother gushed, raising her glass in Madeline's direction, "to continuing your artistic journey with the best possible foundation." I sipped my water silently, calculating the exact amount they had spent on Madeline's education compared to the $0 contributed to mine. The numbers only reinforced my determination to make graduation day as revelatory as possible. Near the end of dinner, one of their friends politely asked about my plans after graduation. Before I could answer, my mother jumped in with her own narrative. "Lauren has always been so independent. She will figure something out, she always does." My father nodded in agreement. "She might need to start with an entry-level position somewhere, but with her work ethic, I am sure she will climb the ladder eventually." Their patronizing tone and low expectations burned like acid. I excused myself early, claiming preparation for finals, though in reality I needed to escape before revealing everything prematurely. The night before graduation, I could not sleep. I laid awake in my apartment, reflecting on the 4-year journey that had transformed me from a hurt, rejected daughter to a successful entrepreneur. The pain of my parents' favoritism had not diminished, but it had been repurposed into determination that ultimately led to my success. I carefully hung my graduation gown beside the designer dress I would wear underneath, a symbolic pairing of academic achievement and business success. On my desk sat the confirmation email from EduTech Innovations, finalizing the $3.5 million acquisition of Study Connect, with the press release scheduled for noon the next day, right after the graduation ceremony. Morning arrived after fitful sleep. I dressed methodically, applying makeup to conceal the dark circles under my eyes. Tyler arrived to escort me to the ceremony, bringing coffee and reassurance. "Today everything changes," I told him, smoothing my gown. "After today, they can never again claim I was worth less than my sister." He kissed my forehead gently. "You never needed their validation to be extraordinary." I nodded, appreciating his perspective, but still feeling the weight of childhood wounds that needed closure. "I know, but I need them to know it too." We drove to campus in the new car I had purchased the previous week, but had yet to show my family. As we approached the university auditorium, I spotted my team members and Dr. Williams gathering near the entrance, along with our angel investor and 2 executives from EduTech. They formed a support system completely separate from my biological family, people who had recognized my value without the obligation of blood ties. The graduation day I had fought so hard to reach had finally arrived, and with it, the moment of truth I had both dreaded and anticipated for months. Graduation morning dawned bright and clear, a perfect New England spring day. I stood in my apartment, carefully adjusting my cap and making sure my honor cords were properly arranged. The summa cum laude designation had been earned through countless nights of studying after exhausting work shifts. Every tassel and cord represented triumph over circumstances that should have defeated me. Tyler waited patiently, taking photos and offering encouraging words. "You look incredible," he said, handing me a small gift box. Inside was a delicate silver bracelet engraved with the words, "You deserved everything." Tears threatened to ruin my carefully applied makeup. "Thank you for believing in me when no one else did," I whispered, allowing him to fasten the bracelet around my wrist. We arrived at the ceremony venue, where thousands of graduates and their families were gathering. Near the entrance, I spotted Dr. Williams in her academic regalia, along with my complete Study Connect team who had come to support me. Our angel investor, Harold Jensen, stood chatting with the CEO of EduTech Innovations, both men dressed in expensive suits that signaled the business formality of this supposedly purely academic occasion. "We would not miss this for anything," Dr. Williams said, embracing me. "What you have accomplished is extraordinary under any circumstances, but given your journey, it is nothing short of miraculous." I thanked them all for coming, then excused myself to find my family for the obligatory pre-ceremony photos. I spotted them easily, my father in his standard navy blazer, my mother wearing a floral dress. Both fawning over Madeline as a professional photographer they had hired captured her every pose. "Lauren, there you are," my mother called when she finally noticed me approaching. "Come join for a few photos before the ceremony starts." The photographer directed us into various groupings, but I could not help noticing how my parents positioned themselves closer to Madeline in every shot. When they requested just the graduate photos, they spent 15 minutes with Madeline but barely 2 with me. Even in celebration, the pattern of favoritism continued. "Mom, Dad, I have some people I would like you to meet," I said after the photos were complete. "Can it wait until after the ceremony?" my father asked, checking his watch. "We should find our seats soon." "They are important to me," I insisted, leading my reluctant parents toward where Tyler, Dr. Williams, and my business associates waited. I made brief introductions, identifying Dr. Williams as my mentor and Tyler as my boyfriend, but strategically omitting any mention of Study Connect or my business relationships with the others. My parents offered perfunctory handshakes, clearly confused about why these people were attending my graduation. "Lauren has been an exceptional student and young professional," Dr. Williams told them. "You must be incredibly proud of everything she has accomplished." My mother smiled politely. "Yes, we are glad she managed to complete her degree despite working so much." Harold Jensen, our investor worth over $200 million, raised an eyebrow at her lukewarm response but said nothing, giving me a knowing look that communicated his understanding of exactly why this revelation would be so satisfying. As the ceremony began, I took my place among the graduates, while my support team and family found seats in the audience. The business school graduates were scheduled before the arts program, meaning my name would be called earlier than Madeline's. The commencement address dragged on, discussing perseverance and opportunity in ways that felt personally tailored to my experience, though the speaker knew nothing of my particular journey. I barely heard the words, my mind focused on what was about to unfold. When the business school dean began conferring degrees, I sat up straighter, heart pounding. After several minutes of names being called, I heard the announcement of special recognitions and awards. "Before we continue with remaining graduates, we would like to recognize exceptional student achievements," the dean announced. "The Entrepreneurial Excellence Award, our highest honor for student business innovation, goes to Lauren Adams, founder and CEO of Study Connect." A spotlight found me as I rose from my seat, the large screens around the auditorium displaying my professional headshot alongside the Study Connect logo. In just 1 year, Miss Adams has built a company valued at over $3 million that is revolutionizing peer-to-peer education. Her platform currently serves 20,000 students across 15 universities and has attracted acquisition interest from major technology firms. Please join me in recognizing this extraordinary achievement. The applause was thunderous as I walked across the stage to accept the Crystal Award. From this elevated position, I could see my parents in the audience, their expressions shifting from confusion to shock. My mother's hand covered her mouth, while my father sat frozen, his program fallen forgotten to the floor. After accepting the award, I was asked to say a few words. I stepped to the microphone, my voice steady despite the emotion threatening to overwhelm me. "Thank you for this recognition," Study Connect was born from necessity during my own college experience. While working 3 jobs to pay for my education, I recognized that many students needed affordable academic support. This platform creates opportunity for both struggling students and those who can help them. I paused, finding my parents' faces in the crowd. I would like to thank those who supported this journey: Dr. Cassandra Williams for her mentorship, my team for their brilliant contributions, our investors for believing in our vision, and my partner Tyler for his unwavering support. They recognized potential where others saw only struggle and invested in me when investment mattered most. The deliberate omission of my parents was obvious to everyone who knew the situation. I could see Madeline in the audience, her expression showing genuine pride mixed with dawning realization about the magnitude of what I had kept secret. After returning to my seat, I waded through the calling of remaining names, including my own again for my degree. As I crossed the stage the second time, the dean announced, "Lauren Adams, Bachelor of Science in Computer Science, summa cum laude." Following the business school, the arts program graduates were presented. When Madeline's name was called, I applauded sincerely. Despite everything, I did not begrudge my sister her accomplishments or opportunities. The ceremony concluded with the university president making a final announcement. "We have just received word of an exciting development for one of our graduates. Lauren Adams' company, Study Connect, has officially been acquired by EduTech Innovations for $3.5 million, with Ms. Adams joining their executive leadership team. This represents one of the largest student-led acquisitions in university history." Gasps and applause rippled through the crowd. The screens displayed the official press release along with photos of me signing the acquisition documents. In that moment, my parents could not look away from evidence of the success they had never thought possible for their less worthy daughter. As graduates and families merged on the lawn after the ceremony, I was immediately surrounded by well-wishers and reporters asking about Study Connect and the acquisition. Through the crowd, I saw my parents standing awkwardly at the periphery, their faces pale with shock and perhaps something deeper realization. When I finally made my way to them, my mother attempted to embrace me. "Lauren, this is amazing! Why did not you tell us? We had no idea you were doing something so important." My father reached for my hand, his expression transformed into beaming pride. $3.5 million! My daughter, the CEO! We need to celebrate this incredible achievement. I stepped back, maintaining a polite distance. "Thank you, but I already have celebration plans with my team and investors." "But we are your parents," my mother protested, suddenly desperate to associate with my success. "We should be part of this special day." 4 years of built-up emotion crystallized into calm clarity. "You had many opportunities to be part of my journey. You chose not to invest in me, remember? You decided I did not deserve it." My father flinched at having his words returned to him. "Lauren, we always believed in you. We just thought you were capable of making it on your own." "And I did," I replied evenly. "Without you. Which means this success belongs to me and the people who actually supported me when support mattered." I turned to Madeline, whose expression showed compassion and understanding beyond her years. "Congratulations on your graduation," I told her sincerely. "Your artwork is truly beautiful, and you earned your success." She hugged me tightly, whispering, "I am so proud of you. And I am sorry I never realized what was happening." "It was not your responsibility," I assured her, returning the embrace. With professional composure, I rejoined my support network, leaving my parents standing alone amid the celebration, witnesses to the success they had never thought worthy of their investment. Their faces remained pale with the recognition of what their favoritism had cost them a relationship with their exceptionally successful daughter. The months following graduation unfolded in dramatic contrast to my previous years of struggle. While Madeline moved to New York with our parents' financial backing to begin her master's program, I relocated to San Francisco to join EduTech Innovations' executive team. My tiny studio apartment and thrift store furniture were replaced by a modern condo overlooking the bay, purchased outright with my acquisition earnings. The professional transition proved smoother than the personal one. At work, my ideas were valued, my contributions recognized, and my background celebrated as evidence of determination and resourcefulness. Study Connect expanded to over 50 universities under the EduTech umbrella, with new features and resources that furthered our mission of democratizing educational support. My personal life flourished as well. Tyler had accepted a software engineering position with a San Francisco tech firm, allowing our relationship to continue and deepen. We established a comfortable routine of ambitious workdays and peaceful evenings exploring our new city, building a life centered on mutual respect and shared values. My relationship with my family remained the most challenging aspect of my new reality. In the initial weeks after graduation, my parents made awkward attempts at reconciliation, clearly motivated at least partly by my newfound wealth and success. They called frequently, sent congratulatory gifts, and repeatedly invited me to visit them in Boston. "We always knew you were special," my mother claimed during one call, revising history to include their support. "We just wanted you to develop independence." "We could not be prouder," my father added, conveniently forgetting his dismissive attitude throughout my college years. Their sudden interest and approval felt hollow after years of neglect. I maintained polite but distant communication, unwilling to pretend that their behavior had not deeply wounded me. Their attempts to take partial credit for my success by suggesting their withholding of support had somehow motivated my achievements, only reinforced my need for emotional distance. Madeline and I, however, developed a more authentic relationship once removed from our parents' influence. We spoke weekly, sharing genuine interest in each other's lives without the shadow of competition. She was the only family member who acknowledged the truth without excuses. "They were wrong about you," she told me during one video call. "What they did was unfair, and I benefited from that unfairness without realizing it. I am sorry." Her acknowledgement helped heal a wound that had festered for years. We began building a sister relationship based on mutual respect rather than the arbitrary valuation imposed by our parents. 6 months after graduation, I began working with a therapist to address the deep-seated feelings of unworthiness that continued to affect me despite external success. Dr. Caroline Fisher specialized in family trauma and helped me recognize patterns of seeking validation that still influenced my decision-making. "Financial success does not automatically heal emotional wounds," she explained during one session. "The child who was told she did not deserve investment still exists within you, seeking confirmation of her worth." Through weekly therapy, I began the difficult work of separating my self-value from external achievements or others' validation. I learned to recognize my reflexive overworking as a response to childhood messages, rather than a necessary component of success. Most importantly, I began to understand that forgiveness might be possible without forgetting, and that boundaries could coexist with family relationships. By Thanksgiving, I felt strong enough to consider returning home. Tyler offered to accompany me for support, and together we flew to Boston for the holiday. The dynamic was noticeably different from previous family gatherings. My parents treated me with a new deference, almost tiptoeing around me as if uncertain how to interact with this successful version of their daughter. The kitchen conversation while preparing dinner created space for the first genuine dialogue about our past. As my mother and I chopped vegetables, she made an unexpected admission. "We made mistakes with you, Lauren," she said quietly, keeping her eyes on the cutting board. "Serious ones." I remained silent, allowing her to continue without interruption. "We convinced ourselves that our approach was building your character, but the truth is we failed to support you equally. Seeing you at graduation, hearing about everything you accomplished alone." Her voice cracked. I realized what we had done. My father joined the conversation, uncharacteristically vulnerable. "When that investor spoke about your potential and how obvious your talent was to him, a complete stranger, I felt ashamed. We should have seen it. We should have been the ones believing in you first." Their acknowledgement was not perfect, still tinged with excuses about limited resources and misguided intentions, yet it represented the first step toward authentic reconciliation. Over the carved turkey and stuffing, I shared my experience more honestly than ever before, describing the exhaustion, loneliness, and hurt their choices had caused. They listened without defensiveness, occasionally wiping away tears. "I do not know if I can forget hearing that I did not deserve the same investment as Madeline," I admitted. "Those words shaped years of my life." "We cannot undo that," my father acknowledged. "But we hope to earn back some place in your life, whatever that might look like." That Thanksgiving marked the beginning of a slow healing process. I established clear boundaries about discussions of money and success, refusing to allow my achievements to be retroactively claimed as the product of their parenting. Our relationship would need to be rebuilt on new terms, with acknowledgement of past wounds rather than revision of history. By the following spring, I had found enough peace to establish the Adams Educational Equity Scholarship at Boston University, specifically for working students struggling to fund their education while maintaining academic excellence. The irony of creating educational support that my parents had withheld was not lost on anyone, but the scholarship represented something more important than retribution. It was transformation of pain into purpose. At the scholarship announcement ceremony, I spoke candidly about my experience working multiple jobs while maintaining top grades, and how financial barriers prevent countless talented students from reaching their potential. The first 5 recipients joined me on stage, each with their own story of determination against financial obstacles. Success should be determined by ability, effort, and character, I told the audience, which included my parents, not by accident of birth or family resources. This scholarship aims to level the playing field for exceptional students who deserve investment in their futures. The word deserve carried special weight, reclaiming and repurposing the term that had once been used to exclude me. As I approach 35 years after graduation, I can reflect on my journey with greater perspective. The wound of parental favoritism may never completely heal, but it no longer defines me. My relationship with my parents has evolved into a cautious but more honest connection. We maintain boundaries and acknowledge the past rather than pretending it did not happen. Madeline and I have become true friends and supporters of each other, our bond strengthened by mutual respect rather than competition. She recently confided that she has started teaching art to underprivileged children, inspired partly by recognizing how privilege shaped her own opportunities. My career continues to flourish, with Study Connect now serving over 100,000 students nationwide. Tyler and I are engaged, planning a future built on the equal partnership and mutual support I once could not imagine. The lesson I carry forward is not that pain predicts success or that struggle is necessary for achievement. Rather, I have learned that our worth is inherent, not determined by others' investment or validation. We deserve support not because of special talents or extraordinary potential, but simply because we are human beings with dreams and dignity. To anyone watching who has felt unworthy of investment, whose potential has been dismissed by those who should have nurtured it, your value is not determined by others' recognition. You deserve support, encouragement, and opportunity, and when you succeed despite their lack of faith, that success belongs entirely to you. If my story resonates with you, please share it with someone who might need to hear that they deserve investment in their dreams. Leave a comment about a time when you had to believe in yourself when others did not. Subscribe to see more stories of resilience and transformation. Thank you for joining me on this journey of healing and rediscovering my inherent worth beyond what others deem deserving.